This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark News.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. We're pleased to have with us the Chief Operating Officer of the Girl Scouts of Ohio Heartland. Katie Poole is with us. And Katie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you here and ask a lot of questions about the Girl Scouts. So Girl Scouts of Ohio Heartland, tell me exactly what that entails and how much territory you cover.
Yeah, so we are kind of headquartered here in Central Ohio, but we cover 30 counties throughout the state of Ohio. There are a couple of councils throughout Ohio, but we serve 30 counties. So we go up through Mansfield, over through Zanesville. We cover most of the southern part of Ohio, down through Scioto County. We have offices in Chillicothe, Zanesville, Mansfield, Marion. We've got a camp out in Galloway. And then there's councils that cover the western part of the state, northeastern part of the state, and then one that kind of covers the little western, covers into western. They go into Kentucky. But there's a little over 100 councils that cover the entire nation, supporting Girl Scouts all over the country.
Before we go any further, obviously people can always get information online. What's your website address? Yeah,
if you go to gsoh.org, you can learn all about what we're doing here in kind of central southern Ohio.
That's easy to remember. gsoh.org, and we'll give that throughout the program, and of course you can Google it as well and get the information. Katie Poole is here, the CEO of the Girl Scouts of Ohio Heartland. At any one time, how many girls do you have in scouting in Ohio?
So in Ohio as a whole, we serve around 40,000 girls. So in our areas, our 30 counties, we tend to serve around 10 to 12,000 girls and 4,000 to 5,000 volunteers that help support all of that happen.
And if there's a parent out there and then they have a girl or girls and they'd like to get them involved in scouting, what's the first step? How do they find a troop?
So going to our website's a great place to do that. We're also out in the community a lot, and in schools is one of the best places to kind of start a troop and find a troop. So there are troops in most school districts throughout our 30 county areas. A lot of times those troops are starting in kindergarten and first grade as daisies. Most conversations I have with parents and moms, they say, "Oh, I was a daisy, I was a brownie." Those are the different age levels that you can be in Girl Scouts, but usually schools invite us to come in and talk about Girl Scouting, but you can join whether that's affiliated with your school or not. There are troops that are hosted through churches, through community centers, homeschooling groups, kind of all over the place. You can work with us to tell us what you're interested in, when you want to meet, the different types of things you want to do, and we try and find a good spot that's the right fit for your kid.
And what are the age limits? When do you start taking girls?
Once you're in kindergarten. So you have to be in kindergarten, but all the way up through high school. And then after high school, you can keep being a Girl Scout as an adult volunteer, helping make all those amazing experiences happen for other youth.
And how important are your alumni?
They're so important. We know through all of the work that we do and a ton of research that adult mentors for any kid are extremely important in childhood development. And so alumni and the volunteers that we have are what make Girl Scouting and any youth development program successful. It's what help kids see the things that they can become. It's what helped build really important, impactful relationships. And alumni help everything that Girl Scouting does from a volunteer perspective, from a donor perspective. They really keep our organization moving in a lot of different ways.
Is the Girl Scouts Ohio Heartland different from any of the other groups around the country?
We all do a lot of the same things. So we all kind of feed up into Girl Scouts of the USA. So it's a federated model is kind of what the nonprofit lingo of the organization is. So we all kind of feed up into the Girl Scouts of the USA. So we share all of the same curriculum. We share a lot of the same language. We share a lot of the same marketing tools and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of similarities, but because we're kind of broken out into separate nonprofits, we have the ability to tailor to the needs of our different communities and our different states and our different counties. So there's definitely differences in the type of programs that we offer. Different geographies look different. The type of things that camps in Utah offer look really different than the types of things that we can offer here in Central Ohio. You go to a Girl Scout camp in Utah and you're going to ski. You're not going to necessarily be able to do that here in Columbus. So things look a little different, but overall the mission of trying to build girls of courage, confidence, and character, that looks the same regardless of the Girl Scouting community you go to across the country.
You know, Ohio's unique in so many ways, and you've got the vast rural areas, and you have these really big urban areas as well. How do you try to get the urban girls involved in scouting?
Yeah. So it depends on the community, right? We have a really great group of membership managers that work in our offices here in Columbus. So Columbus is our largest urban area that we cover. And so we have a group that works here really closely with like Columbus City Schools. And we've got a mix of troops that, work out of Columbus City Schools and function a little bit more like a typical troop model, where you've got volunteers that run the troop. They meet, a couple of times a month, and they do the cookie program. They do all that kind of stuff. And then we also work in areas where that's not the right model for those parents. They don't work a more standard 9-to-5 job, and volunteering isn't an option for them for a various number of reasons. And so we have staff that support Girl Scouting in the schools that happen that way. So they go in during after school hours, during lunch hours, and we do Girl Scouting programs that way. We also offer a lot of different scholarship opportunities for girls to go to camp and different things like that. We've got a great Latina initiative too. So we just had a camp program out this weekend called Camp Amigas. So we work with some of our Latina communities here in Columbus. That's a really exciting initiative that we do to get some of those communities involved here in Columbus. But yeah, it definitely looks different in different communities. And I think that's one of the nice things about Girl Scouts is we have a really broad types of things that you can do to get involved. And so it's finding the right things that your family's interested, the right things that you want your girl to learn about.
Our guest on the program today is the Chief Operating Officer of the Girl Scouts of Ohio's Heartland. Katie Poole is with us, and their website address is gsoh.org. Easy to remember, Girl Scouts Ohio, gsoh.org. That was pretty sneaky the way you did that. Talk a little bit about what Girl Scouting looks like in 2025. Do they do sort of the same things they used to do, or are they involved in a lot of other activities?
It's yes and no. I think Girl Scouting there's a lot of perception that Girl Scouts is just cookies and crafts. We hear that all the time. I think a lot of people think, oh, I remember doing crafts in a church basement as a kid and making macaroni necklaces and selling cookies. And there is sometimes still a little bit of that for sure, but cookies is a big part of Girl Scouting. That is still absolutely true today. I think the widening of opportunities available to Girl Scouts is definitely different than it was a long time ago. However, if you look back at the things that Girl Scouting used to offer, Girl Scouts has always offered a ton of science programming. One of the early badges that Girl Scouts offered was an electrician badge. Girl Scouting was teaching girls about electrical circuits in 1920. So science and STEM and teaching girls how to be independent and understand how to do things for themselves, how to take care of things in a house, that kind of stuff. That's always been part of what Girl Scouts has done. It's just kind of evolved how we do it over time. The opportunities today, I think, look a little bit different. We recently opened up a large STEM center just outside of Columbus in Galloway, Ohio. And so one of the things we've been really proud to hear lately from a lot of parents and a lot of moms is, oh man, I really wish this was available when I was a kid. We've been trying to find ways to open up girls' eyes about all of the different things that they can do and be when they're an adult. We want kids to feel really confident, whatever room they want to walk into, whatever they want to be when they're an adult. We want them to feel confident, right? And so the idea with the STEM Center is trying to build a workforce of people that can think critically, that can be good problem solvers, whether that's in the science space or not. We're using science as a platform for that because science has always been a big part of Girl Scouts. People just don't really realize that because cookies tends to be the headline. This past summer, we did some really great programs. We did a program that was called Dollhouse Design, and it was 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds that came in and they designed a dollhouse and they left with a giant dollhouse. But the things that they learned were basic carpentry skills. They used hand tools. They built all of the furniture inside the dollhouse. They learned some design principles. They learned some architecture principles. They met with architects. They came out with some really great basic knowledge on how to use tools. Some foundational skills that they can take and use in other spaces in their lives.
I'm glad you mentioned the STEM Center. Talk a little bit about that. If I recall properly, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. So explain a little bit about the STEM program and what you're trying to instill in the girls.
Yeah. So back in, I want to say 2017, Girl Scouts of the USA made a large announcement that they were, as an entire movement across the country, making a large-scale initiative to try and put 2.5 million girls in the STEM workforce pipeline over the next decade. And so they kind of charged councils across the country with putting some strategic initiatives behind trying to figure out how to do that locally, working with local businesses, figuring out what they could contribute to making sure that they were working on filling gender gaps within local STEM workforce pipelines. And so what we did here locally was meet with a lot of the really large, we're lucky here in Central Ohio to have a lot of really big workforce areas. We're not hurting for that here in Columbus. And so we worked with large partners like Battelle, AEP, Nationwide, who want smart, confident women in their workforce. And so talked to them about what they need, the types of people that they need, and started building programs out from that. And so with their support, we last fall cut the ribbon on a STEM Leadership Center that's at our camp in Galloway, Ohio. So it's a large space that has some big conference kind of meeting space where we can do some really large scale programs. And then it has some dedicated classrooms where we can do construction trades. So we teach tool skills. We can do some basics, kind of soldering and welding. We've built lamps. We've built birdhouses. We've built all kinds of things. We've got a tech lab where we're doing some 3D printing. We're doing basic robotics. We're teaching kids about drones. We're doing some model rocketry. We've got an environmental lab where they're using some of the great outdoor space on this camp that's 220 acres. So they're going out to the wetland and they're doing soil testing. They're learning about wetland conservation. Then they're coming into the environmental lab and doing some great reflection and learning about human and environmental impact. And so we're trying to work with these partners on building some great consciousness around science and how we can be good environmental stewards, and also have a lot of fun.
I was going to say
That's part of it too. It's all really fun.
Yeah, it's not like
important.
An extension of homework.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's I am really, really lucky to support a team of people that have a lot of fun with their jobs and that want kids to have a lot of fun when they're out doing things. We think school is really important, but we think it's really important that when kids are out doing Girl Scouting, that they do not feel like they're in school. We want them to play. We really understand how important play is as a part of learning. So we talk a lot about how cool it is when you can trick a kid into learning, when you can get them to play and explore something and then get them to see that light bulb moment that happens and realize how cool it is that they've just discovered something new.
And it's also nice to see kids put their phone down and socialize with one another.
Yeah.
And that socialization aspect of it is very important.
It is, and it's a huge part of Girl Scouting too. I think the community aspect of Girl Scouting is really great. It's a built-in it's a built-in friend group for your kid, honestly, whether it's something that they're doing with their troop or it's coming to programs, it's going to camp. We see it time after time, these really, really cool friendships that come out of Girl Scouts.
Were you involved in scouting as a kid?
I wasn't actually. I have a really strong memory of going to one meeting at my school to learn about it, and did not continue with it. But I wasn't involved in it as a kid. I did other kinds of leadership activities that I think mimicked a lot of the things that Girl Scouting does as a youth. But Girl Scouting wasn't it. But I wanted to, as an adult, give back to kids in a lot of the same ways that I was given other kinds of opportunities as a youth to grow and develop. And I was able to, as an adult, know how important all of those things were. And I see all of that reflected in Girl Scouts really well. But I was not fortunate enough to do it as a kid, but very fortunate enough to be able to do it as an adult.
What kind of feedback do you get from the girls and from the parents, and how do you use that to help develop programs?
We get a lot of feedback. We take it really seriously. The biggest feedback we get from kids is always about the snacks.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would be my number one concern. Sure.
It's the number one feedback we always get on surveys. They're very critical about the snacks always, which is good feedback. It's important. We want the kids to be happy with the snacks. It's really important that we get feedback. We take surveys at pretty much every program that we do. We use it to make sure that year after year for programs that we are continuing to do, that we are making them better, that we're making it easy for parents to register their kids for them. We want people to participate. And so we want to make sure that when they're coming to the programs that they're getting what they expect out of them. One of the things that we always ask is, did you get what you expected out of it? And was the value of the program worth what you paid for it? I think that's really important. I want people to value the experience that they're getting for their kid. There's so many options of what you can put your kids into right now. The value, the dollar value you put on that, your time value of what you're spending with your kids is so important. And so we try and measure that really closely. That's one of the things we pay a lot of attention to. And then what they're learning and how they can take that learning and do something good with it is also something we measure. We ask that a lot in Girl Scouting, is how can you take something that you learned today and do something with it for your community? And so that's a question we talk about and we ask a lot in Girl Scouting, and we take whether or not we can get that kind of feedback from kids really seriously, and we change the way that we teach and we talk about community impact in our programs. And we make a lot of changes in our curriculum based off of the feedback that we get that way. You talk about a lot of different interests. So are there any basic programs that all the girls do, and then they can branch out into other areas if they want? Yeah. So there's programs that girls do as a troop. So I think a lot of people see the vests covered in badges, right?
Mm-hmm,
so
sure.
Girls do badges. That's, scouting as a movement, right? Badges are part of a lot of that. So girls kind of work with their troop and they decide the different types of things that they want to earn, and they do that kind of programming with their troop, usually on their own. And then they can sign up and come to programs that we as a council create and design. We've got programs that are super popular that a lot of kids come to. Camp is one of those. So we do day camps and resident overnight camps. We serve between day camp, resident camp, and then being able to, with their troop, come camping overnight on our properties. Probably about half, if not 2/3, participate in some form of camping throughout their Girl Scout career in a year. And so that's really popular. We have a couple of events that are really big that a lot of kids do. So we do a mud run every year called Mad Mud. That happens in Morrow County. It is a 2-mile mud run where we flood parts of the camp property, and it's like a Tough Mudder kind of deal, and where there's different elements and they're cheered on and they get really muddy and they go through a mud pit and they go over parts of the lake, and
I'd like to see
they get
that.
super messy. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's it's a mix of, 5-year-olds who were a little bit terrified and you're seeing them overcome their fears, and then 15-year-olds who get super into it and come in their prom dresses and are having a ton of fun cheering each other on. And a lot of adults who get really overconfident and then fall in the mud, and the kids love seeing that. That's a really popular event. We've got a big one coming up that's a big first kind of event for a lot of troops called Halloween Hike out at our property at Camp Kenjockety. That's a fun Halloween hike event out at our camp. Yeah.
Well, obviously all of these programs, they're not free. You have to raise money for them, and that's where the cookies come in, right?
Yeah, it is. The cookie program is the way that a lot of troops self-fund their Girl Scout experience. The cookie program is a huge pillar of Girl Scouts. It started because people didn't want to pay for girls to do Girl Scouting way back in the day. So when Girl Scouting started, it started as a small fundraiser for the handful of troops that existed, and it built into what the program is today. The fundraiser is run by each troop as kind of a small entrepreneurial business. So a lot of the funds that those troops raise from their sales go right back to that troop. The council kind of gives back last year it was a little over $1.6 million, and proceeds went right back to those troops into their bank accounts. And so they used those funds last year to go to camps, to travel. We had lots of troops last year that were traveling abroad. We had troops that went to Paris last year, troops that went to Alaska. We've got troops right now that are planning trips to Europe, to Germany, to England, all over the place. We work really closely with troops on trying to set goals and make sure they have a good idea of what their kids want to do and achieve. And then they kind of design their businesses based off of that. They decide how many cookie booths they want to go to, how many doors they want to knock on, how many packages they want to sell. And then they usually achieve those goals. So it's a big business. And the girls really rise to the occasion.
I remember the first time I sold something for school, having a wad of money in your pocket. It's a big responsibility, and it teaches you a lot of lessons about what you need to do with that money. And I imagine those kind of lessons stick with the girls.
It does. I was talking to a teenager recently who is getting ready to go off to college and just got her first work study job. And it's a customer service job. And she was getting all kinds of compliments. And she just kept saying over and over again, she goes, I've been doing customer service since I was 5 years old and selling Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
She said, I know how to talk to people. I know how to walk up to somebody, ask them questions, figure out what they need and what they like, and move on.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a big confidence builder.
It is. Yeah. I think I interact with a lot of kids who don't know how to talk to people and who aren't comfortable having a conversation with somebody that they don't know well. And the cookie program is a great way to build that skill. So when is the cookie season? When are the cookies sold? Our cookie season starts this year, January 15th, and will go through March 29th this year.
And if I wanted to buy a box of cookies today, can I do that online?
You can't. Nope. So the cookie season is limited. It only runs for a couple of months of the year. That is part of it being a nonprofit fundraiser. It is limited for just a couple of months throughout the year. We do have a new cookie that we recently announced. So the Explore More will be a new cookie available this year. And we're excited to have that, and girls are excited to have that out at their cookie booths this year.
Yeah, I had one the other day.
Did you?
We had some previews here at the radio station. Yeah, those are pretty good. Yeah. If you like s'mores,
yes,
it's a good it's a good cookie. And if I don't know any Girl Scouts or their parents, how can I find one to get cookies when the cookie season rolls around?
Yeah, we can help with that. So on our website, gsoh.org, if you go to /find cookies, we have a map there where you can search for cookie booths. So you can find where there's cookie booths in your area. You can also fill out a form, and we can match you to a Girl Scout in your community that is selling cookies. And
I guess one other question I would have is, I don't know if you've ever studied this, but do Ohioans have a favorite cookie?
They do. So it's it's actually pretty unanimous nationwide. The Thin Mint is the favorite cookie.
No kidding.
By a landslide. The Samoa comes in second, but Thin Mint by a landslide is the favorite.
Well, see, I'm boring. I like the little shortbread
I
cookie.
do too.
What's it called? I can't remember.
The trefoil.
Trefoil, yes. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not a Thin Mint person either. I know. Yeah.
Well, our guest on the program this morning is Katie Poole, the COO of Girl Scouts of Ohio Heartland. Just about out of time. So what I would ask you is, if someone is thinking about getting their girl involved in scouting, what would you say to them about what are the rewards of scouting for these girls?
I think the biggest rewards are that it's a great community. It's a great group of people who really want to see your daughter succeed, who want to see her build a group of friends, and that it's a great platform for her to explore different interests, whether that's with her troop, going to council programs, going to camp. It's a great platform to build independence over time and to get to have a safe place for her to really kind of explore who she is.
And the website address again?
gsoh.org.
Katie, thanks so much for being here today. We really appreciate it, and good luck with scouting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
Hey, I'm your mountain bike. Been a minute since we hit the trail. Why not roll me over to Goodwill? Donating me helps Goodwill's mission to provide career training and support services right here in the community. And that keeps us all moving. Donate today. On your left. To find your nearest Goodwill locations and to learn more about our mission, please visit goodwill.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives.
I'm Tiffany Haddish.
And I'm Marlon Wayans. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer than any other racial or ethnic group.
When you or someone you love is facing a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, access to cutting-edge treatment can help make long-term survival possible and improve future patient outcomes.
That's why Stand Up to Cancer and the Lustgarten Foundation have teamed up to bring over 30 pancreatic cancer clinical trials to those who need them.
Learning all you can about pancreatic cancer, including treatment options and what clinical trials are available, can give you or a loved one even more than hope. It can help make long-term survival possible.
For more information about the latest pancreatic cancer research and clinical trials near you, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
Food. Our survival relies on it. Yet every day in central Ohio, nearly 1 million pounds of it enters the landfill. That's a lot of food, natural resources, and money being wasted. The meals on our plates require a lot of energy, water, and land to grow, harvest, and prepare. And we rely on a healthy planet to provide that. When we choose to throw food away, we're choosing to discard all the resources that were invested along the way. Not to mention the money that's being tossed out. But together, we can make choices that make a difference in our community and protect our environment. In fact, there are a lot of small changes that we can each make to reduce our waste, like saving our leftovers, properly storing our food, and composting. Learn more about what you can do to reduce your food waste at home, at work, at school, and in your community at SaveMoreThanFood.org, a program of SWACO.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something. Something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.